the list that we're actually going to look at for now, starting with the countries with the highest minimum wage. That is for countries where the minimum wages are ideally so good. And now currently on the screen is countries with the lowest minimum wage. You look at South Africa, $1.35 per hour. But I think if someone is earning $1.35 per hour, that is close to earning around 6,000 Ugandan shillings.
Actually,
around 5 to 6,000
every hour.
Every hour.
Yeah, that's in South Africa. And,
so that means if you're going to work a full day, if you, for example, say you're going to work for 10 hours, which is going to be difficult for you.
Of course.
So you may likely work for 8 hours. That is 40,000 a day. And it takes us back. It's more like a Ugandan thing.
Actually, it's more. Yeah, it's more setting up because there are people who make more than 40K.
So if it's around 40,000, around 80, around 40,000, I think South Africa also coming in from there, 1.35, and then we have Cuba, which is around 87 per month. $87 per month. You know, it takes us back to the time when we had Cuba officials, the Cuba doctors that came to operate here in Uganda. I think that is where we got the name Abachuba.
That's why, yes.
The Abachuba who come and work. You're just working for just a fee, you know. So, and I think that is what we have in Uganda here. The kind of work we do in the country is more of a gig economy. It's more like a gig economy driven country.
Actually,
in Uganda.
Do you know, our settings are more known, when you really look into the deeper sense actually, when you mention that aspect of the gig sort of working, a majority of the population in the United States, that's how they survive. I mean, somebody knows, you know, most especially, I want to give example of computer technicians. You know, somebody will tell you, oh, I have to go here, fix this guy's thing, I have to go here. So it's gig best. And, you know, for you to be able, at least by the end of the day, to have accumulated something on your account. And I think it's the way to go, honestly.
Well, I think they should as well give us more of the minimum wage by country. Countries with the highest minimum wage.
Highest minimum wage.
For the viewers to clearly see countries with the highest minimum wage there. When you look at Luxembourg, being part of that, per month. When you look someone earning
$2,000 per month.
$2,440, approximately 2,313.38 euros.
Exactly.
So when you put that in Ugandan shillings, you can see someone earn about 7 to 8 million per month for someone working in Luxembourg. But again, it takes us back to the cost of living in those countries.
Now that's another thing,
because it does seem like if you are working, if you're a Ugandan and you're earning that money away from Uganda and you're sending it back home, it does seem to be very good money.
It's okay.
But then if you're to look at the expenses that you have when you're in those countries, let's say the amount, because I was watching a documentary where the amount of a haircut, let's say in the United States, it's around, someone saying I'm having a 500, let's say a $200 haircut. Now, if someone is actually using $200 for a haircut, in Uganda here, the haircuts range between 5,000. Actually, 5,000 is in the city here. 5,000 to 10,000. That is most of the saloons in the capital. So most of the saloons in the suburbs, 2,000 to 3,000.
Yeah, 2 to 3. Yeah.
Now, besides that, it's only when you go to uptown saloons that have actually established a better brand, where you will see someone getting a haircut of 200,000 to 500,000. Now, 500,000, that is close to $150.
Yeah.
So that means, and for someone to actually go in a salon for $150, that means you're either a member of parliament, and then you're only going to go there for it's once a month. Because you're going to spend 300 to 400,000 on a haircut.
Yeah.
We had one of the famous musicians here in Uganda being put into the papers for failure to pay money. So that clearly shows you that even paying $100 for a haircut in Uganda is expensive.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Which again, now that means the cost of living in these countries may seem to be very high. Because
Absolutely.
The president did tell the South Africans during the visit that we are very lazy people. Ugandans are very lazy people. And he did mention that it's very easy to live in this country, to survive.
Even a fool can survive.
Even a fool can survive. Though, for lack of a better word, him using a fool was
that somebody who you're clueless.
Clueless about running
life.
Yeah. You can.
Yes.
Because trust me, in a country like ours where you can survive on $1. Let's say if you have your 5,000 Ugandan shillings a day, you can pass through it. That is for breakfast, lunch, supper. You can actually chill the breakfast part and have lunch
and supper. Yeah.
And you're good to go. Because most of the people we are living with currently are actually surviving on 2 meals or one a day.
Absolutely.
So when you look at these countries with the highest minimum wage, someone will clearly say, well, it does seem like it is worth working in those countries. But remember, you're living on, most of them are actually having credit cards. They're actually living on credit. You have a good apartment, but they're chopping everything on this salary. So by the time you lose your job, you're likely to lose your car. You're losing your apartment. And that means whatever you've been working for is really...
It's just, I mean, it's air. Something of that sort.
And then when you come back to Uganda, if, Andrew, for example, you get yourself a good job that is actually earning you, let's say $1,000 a month, that is close to 3.5. So if you're earning 3.5 million, or let's say $2,000, you're earning 7 million Ugandan shillings. That means you can afford taking your child to an international school, which is paying about $1,000 per term.
Absolutely.
You can. So that means you can afford a vehicle that is close to 200 million Ugandan shillings.
You can, in the long run.
You are affording an apartment of $150 per month or $200 per month.
Exactly.
So in Uganda here, if you're earning that money, you can live. And we have many people, by the way, in the private sector, or people have actually got a chance of working for NGOs.
NGOs, yeah.
And are earning quite this amount. Even members of parliament here, because you will rarely, if you had a sit down with the MPs, they will tell you we are receiving this money. But you'll ask them how much is that? They won't tell you. And then the figures we are seeing, they're showing members of parliament are earning 20 million to 25.
That's
so the question is, who is earning less, who is not earning?
Who's earning,
so when you look at that, it ideally tells you why they can afford certain lifestyles and why it is difficult to maintain. But when you look at this, most of the minimum wage laws in the countries do not protect independent contractors.
That's more self-employed people.
So
you're
not protected by these
the minimum wage laws.
And then at the end of it all, the countries have a government-mandated minimum wage.
Of course, government
something that most of the private sector players in Uganda won't agree upon.
For the government to say
that when we put out these discussions, I don't think our economy is ready for the minimum wage.
Absolutely. By the way,
because
that's the reality. Looking at because inflation is one of the key.
Exactly.
You look at what's the entire structure of the economy.
It is undermining.
Exactly.
And imagine if a company is employing over 50 people and the minimum wage is, let's say, 250,000 for such a company in the private sector. At times, it is going to be hard really for these businesses to maintain that wage because first of all that salary cap because first of all you don't know how much they are making a month.
No, that's
at times businesses are failing out or because of the fact that the cost of running business is outweighing the money they are making. So they end up saying let's just negotiate with our employees that this is how much I'm going to give you.
I'm going to be giving you for this time.
If the company
picks up evens.
If we break the evens, then we're going to give you this money. This and this. And that is why you realize even the contracts that we have in Uganda are really not long-term contracts.
Long-term,
we're having contracts that are
1 year,
1 year, 2 years.
2 years.
Because most of the people are actually on contracts of 3 years. That is then there is not even an element of renewal.
Some few lucky ones. I mean,
very few. Because after 3 years, the company will be like, okay, thank you very much for your.
Actually, they are praying for your contract to get done, and they put you on.
And once your contract is done, you won't receive anyone calling you. If you want a contract renewal, they either pay you the same amount of money or lesser than that, and also cut the time you're working.
Very true.
Because they know. Obviously, when your contract is done, the next part of your negotiations will be
salary
enhancement,
increment,
and all that.
Absolutely. very interesting factors in here, looking at minimum wage in these countries. And you see, when you, Jerome, maybe some other aspect, you see, like in Luxembourg, when we saw $2,440
dollars per month.
Yeah, per month. Because I'm looking at the marginal propensity to save, because I believe when they're setting up these...
and you have a $100 haircut. So you have an apartment that may be close to $250. Now, you don't know the cost of food. Because I believe there is no food you're going to get at $1.
Reasonable food, reasonable.
$1.
Yeah, of course, it's not there.
Unless because in Uganda you can get yourself a meal at less than $1.
You can get a meal.
So that is around 2,500. You have a good meal.
Commando, and I mean it's okay.
You can have a 3-course meal in the Ugandan, in the local Ugandan setting. Because when you're going downtown Kampala, you actually give someone 3,000 and you say, or 2,500, and then you say, I need beans, so when they say that means you're getting all foods added onto it. It's only the sauce that is going to undermine the entire thing. So I think the element of saving, like you said, but of course because their pension schemes are favorable, it becomes easier for you to save. Okay, because I was also trying to look at it from the perspective of how much are you able to save. You see, imagine on the $2,000, if you spend or you've had a blast for yourself and you are in position to save at least $440, I think that's fine. If you can save $440 a month, and this is money which has nothing to do, like you've spent, you've eaten, you've dressed up, and now there is $440, that one to keep. Because those are some of the key elements which countries actually look into when they're setting minimum wages. They have to increase on the saving capacity for the individuals also. Of course, with 2,440 spending it in Uganda, you would save even lots of money out of that. If you're not so extravagant, but you still, there is life which is not extravagant, but it's okay. You can sleep in a good house. Even though you're still using public means of transport, but at least you can get an Uber. It's very rare for you to use public means once you're no, it's okay. At times our kind of expenditure is highly determined by what we earn. By the way, because if you're earning, if you're earning 5 million Ugandan shillings, in your mind, everything starts rotating around the amount of money. That means your tastes and preferences are going to adjust. You upgrade, or you can call it upgrading. You feel like if you've been taking a haircut of 10,000, you want a haircut of 50,000, 50K. So if at all you've been taking border or taking taxis, you're like, no, I need to get. Even cheap border borders, you're like, no, I can't take border borders. You start taking Uber cars in here because you feel like now you're in that range. If you've been taking food in, let's say, downtown Kampala, the restaurants, you feel like now you have to upgrade to uptown restaurants, hotels, because you feel you have that money. It's that drive. Yeah, it's a human drive within it. Someone actually called it the financial discipline, whereby we find ourselves into what he actually called, if I'm to remember so well, life inflation, something like that. Yes. No, he actually called it it's an expensive inflation something, whereby you are spending more money because you feel you have you have it, but then you're not. You don't recall. You don't even need what you're. Some of the things you're buying, you actually don't need them. But because you have the money, there is a drive to spend money. Yeah, exactly. Well, very interesting here. These are very realities and focus, real facts about life, most especially when it comes to financial management and discipline at the same time. Well, those are the countries we've been looking at. The minimum wage. Probably next time when you're planning to actually go to diaspora, or what you call the greener pastures, you can actually have a picture and a hint on where you can actually try your talents. But of course, also remember, you have to be competent enough because the people you're going to encounter are quite of certain degrees and caliber, and probably some of them have the qualifications which you may not be having here in Uganda. But above all, it's good to be acquainted with that information. Well, 25 minutes past 9, still driving your business here on a daily Kickstarter. Smart means business. And at this very time, we're going to get a short commercial break. And when we return,
Of course, we are going to be joined with Rona Nahabwe, a reporter here, and is going to be sharing with us what should we anticipate. That is for the news bulletin tonight, in the business today, and so many other discussions inclusive of the on ground. Good morning.